Hey guys, these are my Lost thoughts for Lost Season 5, Episodes 1 and 2. Well, Wednesday's 2-hour premiere was pretty good. In my previous typed Lost thoughts, I had spoken about the idea of time travel on the island, so it wasn't really much of a surprise. Plus, if you had seen the video from Comic-Con, you would know that Dr. Pierre Chang and Daniel had met up because Daniel was the guy behind the camera. Here's the link. And simply put, who else would believe Daniel about time travel besides Dr. Pierre Chang, aka Dr. Marvin Candle, Dr. Mark Wickman, Dr. Edgar Halowax? So we can assume that sometime during Season 5, Pierre Chang and Daniel Faraday will meet up and discuss what the heck is going on. Oh, side note, Pierre Chang, of course, woke up at 8:15 a.m. and Daniel walked by Pierre Chang. I jumped out of my seat. Did anybody else see the frozen donkey wheel? Time travel. How stupid does this guy think we are? Frogurt sighting in the raft. Here's the link. It's amazing to think that Kate has stayed put for 3 years. And Sawyer still doesn't have a shirt on. We really don't have the time to explain. Okay, this next part I have to thank Krista for. The record skipping in the opening scene that Dr. Pierre Chang, when he's playing the Willie Nelson song, I totally did not make that connection when Daniel was talking about the record skipping and trying to explain what was going on the island. What time is Locke in? At the very opening scene of the episode, I assumed it was 1978 because it was Pierre Chang with the Dharma Initiative, and based on the viral video, he sent that message 30 years into the future. But Locke saw the Nigerian drug plane crash. Desmond is on the island. He's in the hatch. Now, Desmond was in the hatch between the years 2001 and 2004. He was on the island for 3 years. So, if we take the Nigerian drug plane, then it crashed in between that time. So the Losties are actually skipping back and forth between that time frame when Desmond was in the hatch to sometime after the hatch imploded. We're not exactly sure when. Based on the opening scene, we know that Daniel eventually makes it back to 1978. Will these time skips on the record get bigger and bigger? Action 8 news. By the way, I love the fact that Sayid took Hurley for fast food. Yes! Knife in the back. See, Sayid is to Lost like Jack Bauer is to 24. Time travel has rules. These rules were explained by Mrs. Hawking in Flashes Before Your Eyes to Desmond. You cannot change events in the past, and you cannot change something in the past to affect something in the future. This isn't Heroes. This isn't the 4400. This isn't you go back in time and destroy a formula and then prevent a catastrophe from happening. The fact that Richard said, the reason I knew you had a bullet is because you told me. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, Locke is going to be traveling back and forth and meeting Richard and having tea or something. Also, I love the fact that Richard wears glasses. It really makes him look studious. It's a compass. What does it do? It points north. So Richard tells Locke that the only way to save the island is to get his people back there. And in order to do that, he's going to have to die. We knew that Locke died, but we didn't know how and when. And, oh my gosh, Desmond has to find Daniel's mother. Are you kidding me? Some people are already theorizing that Daniel's mother is Mrs. Hawking. If you don't know who Mrs. Hawking is, here's a link. Daniel's mother being Mrs. Hawking. I don't really buy it, because right now, at the end of the second episode, we find out that Mrs. Hawking is in Los Angeles talking with Ben at that church. And Daniel said that Desmond had to go to Oxford. So the fact that Charlotte couldn't remember her mother's maiden name, and Daniel didn't have enough time to say his mother's last name, that's not a coincidence. So we find out that the time travel rules that everyone's been talking about don't apply to Desmond. Why? Why is he special? Why is he different? Could it be that he's been exposed to electromagnetism for 3 years? Or could it be something else? Daniel gave that message to Desmond. between the years 2001 and 2004. That he had to go to Oxford to find Daniel's mother. And then we see Desmond wake up in a bed with Penny, which we assume is 3 years later, after everyone gets off the island in 2007. Why is it that at that moment, 3 years after everyone gets off the island, that Desmond finally has that memory kick in? It doesn't really make much sense. Bloop. Okay, the fact that Hurley took the time to buckle Sayid in while he was driving, that is the classic buddy movie move. Ana Lucia, is she a figment of Hurley's imagination or an apparition from the island? We know that Hurley already was playing chess with Mr. Echo, and we know that Hurley had these conversations with Charlie. These are all people that have died on the island, so it would make sense, Hurley's been in a mental institution, of course he's going to be seeing people. But could it be an apparition of the island protecting him? Keep in mind, Hurley is one of the few people who could actually see Jacob's cabin. Previously at Expose. Ben took the number 42 from the butcher. How many people caught that? Okay, Ben has a contingent off of the island. He has a contingent off of the island that is helping him get something done. My question is, what is Ben's end game? What is he planning that he is not telling anybody? Now Miles can talk to dead animals now? That just seems a little bit too convenient. I totally called Frogurt dying. Totally called it. He was wearing a red shirt in the beginning of the episode. He had that little confrontation with them about fire, and then he walked away. And right when he walked away, I'm like, he's gonna die. Arrow in the chest. Can anybody tell me what is more hardcore than getting a fire arrow in the chest? Best line of the episode. Why is there a dead Pakistani on my couch? I'm beginning to suspect that Sun knows a lot more than she's letting on. Hurley's explanation of seasons 1 through 4 was just unbelievably extraordinary. The fact that his mother just believes him is the cutest thing, and I love her all the more. People who ambushed Sawyer and Juliet, they had to be Dharma. They were wearing jumpsuits, and one of them had the name tag that said Jones. Now, the guy who was Jones, he said, "What are you doing on our island?" When is the last time that you heard a line like that? Well, how about season 2? Mr. Friendly, a.k.a. Tom. This is not your island. This is our island. We have Dharma people claiming that it is their island. And then we have Mr. Friendly, who represents the others, saying that it's their island. Could it be that the winner of this game between Ben and Widmore gets ownership of the island? Or are they just claiming it like Spaniards coming to South America? How awesome is it that Sayid's first reaction after waking up is to strangle the guy in front of him? That's his automatic reaction. Hurley's best weapon? A Hot Pocket. Deadly and delicious. Okay, so they have 70 hours. What's going to happen if they don't get everyone back to the island? The very same thing that Pierre Chang said at the beginning of the episode is what Mrs. Hawking said at the end of the second episode. God help us all. Now it's time for some message board chatter. This one guy thinks that in season 1, when Locke and Boone found the plane up in the trees, the reason why Locke's leg was hurting was because he was shot by Ethan in the leg at the same location. That could be true, that might not be true, because some people think that the reason why Locke's leg was hurting was because he was hit by the shrapnel from the trebuchet, T on the end. But it's just kind of coincidental that Locke was shot in the leg, and that was the same location where his leg was hurting, which is why Boone was the one who climbed up to the plane. Charlotte hadn't gotten a bloody nose since she was a little girl. This is one of those theories where they think, different time, same location. Same thing with Locke and his leg and getting shot by Ethan. The idea is that Charlotte was on the island as a little girl, and the key for that is her bloody nose. This concludes the first Lost Thoughts for Season 5. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to leave your comments, questions, theories, whatever you want below, that's fantastic. Make sure you subscribe. I'll be back next week with the Lost Thoughts for Episode 3 entitled Jughead. Have a good one.